Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for making into this call. Just thanks for everyone taking their time and just trying to attend this webinar. We'll start the webinar right now. Okay, this is going to be about 15 minutes of talk and then 15 minutes of the demo. So that's what we are trying to do this webinar. So this webinar is basically to demonstrate e-invoice. So I'll just go ahead. Right now, I hope everyone is able to hear me. Yeah. So one second. So right now, if you see the current status of different reportings we have to the government, we have GST, we have GST returns and e-way bill, which are separate. Okay, and both have different formats. One second, guys. One second. Yeah, my apologies. Sorry. If you see the current status, you have separate reporting of invoice data, the GST return and e-way bill. You see that they both are two different formats. So we have something called Part A and Part B. So formatting of reporting in GSTR1 and that of e-way bill are totally different from the original invoice. You are seeing a lot of fake invoices that are coming in. So the government, what they're trying to do is basically they've learned a lot of lessons from the implementation of GSTR and the implementation of e-way bill. So what they're trying to take the lessons from these particular implementations and try to come up with a foolproof system so that it is advantageous for reporting of your business to the government. Okay, so um, so if you're looking at into e-invoice from a general perspective, e-invoice is not new. It's already there in rest of the world. So if you see in this particular slide, the yellow ones, so the orange or yellow ones are basically place where already e-invoice is implemented. So for example, if you see East Asia and Pacific, you see already 15 countries are already implemented them. So 8 are manual, 15 are already there. They've already have a e-invoicing mechanism which can be reported to the government. So this, as I said again, this is nothing new. Invoice system is there in other countries. So the Indian government is trying to implement the same with all the lessons learned from GSTR and e-way bill. So what is e-invoice? E-invoice is basically a system where which is basically saying that you have to report all your B2B invoices to the government, okay, through GST and through GST portal. Now it's very simple from a perspective that uh, uh, all your B2B transactions have to be reported. All your B2B business exports also have to be reported. Now, when I say B2B, it means basically any business you do from your organization to any other organization which is having a GST and which is a GST and registered company. So rest of them fall under B2C. So all B2B invoices and exports have to be reported. Now, under this proposed electronic invoicing system or e-invoicing system, every time you upload an invoice, you would get something called IRN number. Okay, so this invoice, basically it's an invoice registration number. That means every invoice you upload, you will get an IRN confirmation with that. Okay, all invoice information will be transferred from this portal to both GST and e-way bill portal in real time. That means, so if I am uploading an e-invoice, this information will be also passed on to Annexure 1 or the GST data. If you've already uploaded your B2B invoice as part of e-invoicing system, you need not upload them again as part of your Annexure 1 or your GSTR 1. Okay, they'll be automatically sent to them. All right. Similarly, as part of your request, if your particular invoice is also having a delivery as part of your request, it would also get back with an e-way bill number for you. Okay, so this is the overall insight from the e-invoice. So e-invoice also does not mean that you go and create your invoice in the GST portal. Okay, it actually means reporting of your invoice to GST. That means every invoice you create in your ERP, should be reported to them. Now, so the government has given multiple ways of this to be sent to them. So you can directly send it to them, or you can send it through GSP, that is a GST Suvidha provider. There are ways to send this data. You can send it as a JSON format in a file uploads, or you can go and manually go and create this invoice in the system, or you can use an API given by the government where you can upload this. All right. Now, once this one the upload invoices to the GST system will be digitally signed by them, and again you will return it. They will return back to you a IRN number and a signed QR code. We'll go into the details of a signed QR code as we go here into this presentation, and I'll also show you demo how it works. The whole QR code works. As I said again, once this fully rolled out, GST system will prepare the return where only few details like B2C sales and imports have to be given. They'll automatically file your GSTR. So you need not again send your GST this e-invoice, sorry, the B2B details again to GSTR. It's a combined mechanism. So previously you were doing GSTR separately, e-way bill separately. So what they're trying to do is combine all of them into one single mechanism. So once if you submit your e-invoice data, you would automatically get an e-way bill number if it is required, and you will also be able to push this data to GSTR1. So the remaining data, this already B2B is sent, all the exports are sent. So the remaining data, that is the B2C and the imports, have to be informed to the government to close your GSTR1, okay, or your Annexure 1. Okay, so this is the process flow. If you see the diagram, basically the first step is where basically a seller, that means anyone who's selling the goods or services, they have to prepare this invoice in a particular format. So the government has given certain fields to be filled in a JSON format, which you need to prepare. So this can be done either in a JSON format or in a CSV file and can be uploaded to the government. In our example, we are going to create a JSON file and we are going to upload it through to a registrar. Okay. So now here a registrar is nothing but NIC for us. Government is saying that we'll create multiple registrars, but right now at this point of time they have only one IRP, that is NIC. So once your JSON is created, it has to be uploaded to NIC, and they will create an IRN number and a signed QR code and return back to you. See, that is already mentioned in number 5 here. You'll get a return digitally signed JSON to seller with IRN, QR code included in JSON, and we'll also send it as an email to back to the seller and buyer. Okay. Now this is now the IRP also has this responsibility on the 6A. It will go and send these details to GSTN. Okay, so you can see the 4A and 6A, 6B, 6C, where basically this information is also sent to the GSTR. So you need not worry about sending the GST details again. You just need to send your e-invoice. You will get back an IRN and your code, and automatically whatever you uploaded from e-invoice will be submitted to the to GST. So now the process flow from SAP ERP to TCS GSP to IRN. So this is the flow which we are talking about, and this is what we are going to show as a demo to you in another 5 minutes or so. So the process is simple. You continue doing your invoices like you do normally in your system. There's no change there. You just create your invoice, and every invoice you create, there is an e-document that gets created in the SAP system. All right, this is the process flow. So if you see here, there is every sales and finance invoice you create, there will be an e-document that be created. Now this e-document is similar to IDOC, if you know about IDOCs. So basically this e-document is just a reference to your invoice number, and what we do is we can submit this e-document to IRN, and you also can get status of that particular e-document. Once you submit this e-document, you will get IRN number. You'll also get a signed QR code. Okay, so this submission happens through TCS GSP system. That means once I click submit here, it will call an API to TCS GSP, and I will get a return IRN number and a QR code. Okay. Now, From the registrar, it goes and uploads the GST system. That is something happens. That something happens behind the IRP side. But this is the flow from an overall perspective. So process steps. You create your sales invoice like normally how you do. There'll be an e-document that will be created. The e-document contains the relevant information of generation of e-invoice and e-way bill at GST portal. You submit the e-document from the e-document cockpit. There's a cockpit. I'll just show you as part of the demo. Then the solution transforms all the SAP invoice transactional data into a JSON format and will be sending it through GSP, TCS GSPs to NIC. So the tax portal performs a relevant validation, returns a 64-digit alphanumeric invoice number, that is the IRN number, a signed QR code along with the e-way bill number, and the data gets flowed to SAP system to TCS GSP. That means the return, you will get all these details. You will get an IRN code, you will get a 64-digit IRN code, you will also get a signed QR code. Now, upon receipt of the processed information from the tax authority, the system updates the IRN number in the e-document cockpit, and you can see that IRN number in the e-document cockpit. And we will just go through the demo right now. If you have any questions, you can post it in the chat. We'll try to answer as many as possible. Okay, so give me a second. I'm just going into my SAP machine. I hope everyone is able to see this. I'm just opening the eDoc cockpit. eDoc cockpit is where you will see all your invoices. Okay, so and the IRN numbers, which these are already example invoices which we already created over the multiple demos which we are doing. So before I go into the flow, I will just do one thing. I'll show you the e-document cockpit in detail. So this is one of the transactions which we did in the morning. All right, you can see this is the invoice number in my system. So 7193000160 is the invoice in my system. So this is the IRN number which we got from the government. Okay, once we submitted this particular invoice, we got the return back of that. All right, and we also have the date details. We also have an internal OD number of this particular invoice that's mentioned here. And we don't have the e-way bill right now, but I'm just showing you from this perspective. Okay, we can also have the e-way bills and e-way bill number and etc. etc. Okay. So before going for, what next I'll do is basically I'll create a sample invoice, and you can see how it reflects in the e-document cockpit. Okay. Now here you can see the last invoice that was created is 160. Okay. So I'm going to create a new invoice, and it will automatically trigger a creation of e-document for you. Okay. So I'm just going to VF01. I have some deliveries which I'm going to save so that it creates an invoice for me. All right. I'm just selecting this 127, which I have. I'm going to save this. And you can see there's a 161, 7193000161 invoice has been created for me. All right. Now I'll go back to my document cockpit. And if I go down, you can see a new document got created, e-document got created with 161 number. All right. This means every invoice I create, I'll have a e-document get created for me. Okay. Now I can actually submit this e-invoice as part of the system, and I'll expect a IRN from the government. So I'm going to submit this. So it will take some time. So once I get that IRN, I'll be able to see it. Now you can see this IRN number. So this is the 64-digit digit number given by the government to me, and there's an acknowledgement number to it. There's also an e-way bill. I'm not able to show that here, but I will be able to show it down here. I'm just clicking continue here, and I'm going to click refresh. So here I can see the IRN number here, complete IRN number. Okay, and I also see when this particular invoice was created. It was created on 20th and 1541. All right, my time is a bit behind. Okay, anyway, so the posting date of that invoice was on 8th. All right, so you get all the information here. You will also be able to get the QR code. So now once this invoice is created, I can use the normal process of my smartphone printing where the QR code will be printed there. So I'll just copy this invoice number and I'll go to my transaction where I print my invoice. Okay. In my system, it is Z invoice, but in your system, it could be something very different. All right. So I'm just going to print this particular invoice and the QR code will be in this particular invoice itself. As I said again, you can post your questions on chat. We'll be able to happy to answer them. So you can see right now my QR code is printed as part of the invoice itself. Okay, so let me go back to the presentation. I just want to add a few points here. You can see the QR code, so the PDF file with the QR code. I just want to add a few points as part of the presentation. All right. Um, so So as I said, so this is what you see from the invoice, a sample invoice. I also showed you from my system. Now this QR code is very interesting. Okay, the QR code you're seeing is actually a signed QR code. That means if I scan this with my phone scanner, this is what I would see. I would see this whole data like this, EYJHB. This is all encrypted text. Okay, you would see this. All right. Now what I would actually see if I scan it with a particular application the government is going to give is basically they are going to validate this QR code and they are going to give me a right value. Okay, so this is what you would see if I scan it with a particular application. You would see the seller GSTN, you would see the buyer GSTN, you would see the document number, document type, document date, total invoice value, and the item count and main HSN code and the IRN number itself as part of the QR code. All right. So now why is the government asking us to print an encoded QR code is basically to make sure that your whole invoice is actually being generated by the government. Okay, that means there's IRN that is generated by the government. So, and this QR code also has an encoded signature as part of it. Okay, so they are going to validate this particular scanning of this code with a particular signature they have, and they are going to validate that, and that's where you get the actual results. Okay, so this is totally done by the application. They will be going to give to the guys who are in the check post or to individual organizations for you to validate a particular invoice. Okay, uh, so this is all from my side. If you have any questions, you're free to ask them. I can share the particular PDF we generated as part of the demo to everyone in email. So this is the invoice. I'm just saving that as 161, right? Yeah, 161.pdf, and we are going to send this to the guys who have attended the session now. If you have any questions, you can post it in the chat, or you can also uh, um, you know you can also I'll just open the channel also. Just give me a second.